Jim, though, I got to unpack Amazon to start. A lot of discussion, not just about the slight deceleration in AWS, but obviously the transition to Jassy. You know, the point's been made this morning that, at least in big tech, the playbook of founder transitions is thin, but it's getting broader over time.
I am such a huge fan of Andy Jassy. He has been very customer-centric. When he came on Mad Money not that long ago, he talked about cutting the price of Amazon Web Services endlessly in order to stay ahead of the game. We're going to be talking about Alphabet. You have to do that and continue to be able to dominate the cloud. David has been so good at talking about the transition from a book retailer to a company that sells others, to a company that is hiring 500,000 people this year, to a company that is the tech leader. And, David, the arc of Amazon doesn't, in the end, lead to Jassy?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Amazon Web Services has been such an important component of the overall profitability of the company. Its revenue number is significant, too. But when compared to overall the revenues that come from the retail business, it's still relatively small on that basis. But as you well know, Jim, its profitability is far higher. The margins are. And it's a part of the company that was started internally. I mean, like so many other things that Mr. Bezos has overseen in terms of the innovation, in terms of the relentlessness of their attack, whatever it might be, and their willingness to throw things aside if they don't work, Jim. It's really been something to watch. We'll keep an eye on the stock this morning. I mean, so many numbers to talk about in terms of just the size of this company. We mentioned the really it was 125 billion in revenue, 1.3 million employees. And, Jim, they hired 170,000 people in the fourth quarter, 170,000.
The great Jim Sinegal, who took Costco to where it had to go, often talked to me about the idea that when you hire new people, there's a tremendous cost to it, and they don't necessarily pull their own weight initially. That's one of the reasons why I think that even though people might say, well, wait a second, I'm worried about whether Jassy's Bezos, I'm worried about whether the numbers are going to be what they were, the cost that these people had just because of COVID and the need to hire were staggering. And yet, David, $100 billion quarter, they made a lot of money. People who think that this is a nesting trade and once things get back to normal, they're not going to do as well. That's nonsense. Carl, even though that the stock is doing well, you have to buy it today. You have to buy it because Jassy is the man. It isn't like Bezos is just off in the blue yonder. What I want to urge people to do, and people don't want to do this because it's very time-consuming, go to the Amazon release. Read about the future. There is just paragraph after paragraph of what they have planned. Most companies couldn't even do 3 paragraphs. The things that they're up to, Carl, are the future. And Jassy is he is the key for a lot of these initiatives. So I'm very excited about it. When I had Jassy on, I've got to tell you, I mean, he's a competitor. Yeah, Scarsdale kid, by the way. And without a doubt, I would say one of the toughest people I've ever had on Mad Money, in part because he talked to Blue Streak, and I basically stopped him during the commercial. I said, hey, listen, I don't understand all the stuff you're saying. And it was like, so what? I love a guy like that. Always puts you in your place, Carl. Yeah. We need to be put in our places. We are, in the end, just media.
I saw on Twitter you mentioned his competitive streak. Interesting, you know, Bezos over the past years has talked about how the quarter, once it's reported, has really been in the works for, he says, 2 to 3 years. And Jassy has spoken to us in the past about lessons that he's learned from Bezos himself. Here's an example.
I think sometimes leaders get this principle of being right a lot wrong, which is that they think that being right a lot means that the idea has to come from you, and you dig in on your idea and you have to win the argument. The job for all of us as leaders is to make the right decisions, and the best way to make the right decisions is to get all the data on the table and hear all the smart people expressing their opinions and put it together and evolve your opinion. And Jeff, really good at that.
As for the street, Jim, J.P. Morgan goes to 4,400. Stifel goes to 4,000. Street high this morning is now Susquehanna at 5,200.
Well, look, when you think about this, just think about the big game on Sunday. And there are a lot of people who say, okay, well, there can only be one Lombardi trophy. There can only be one winner. when I look at what Amazon did last night, I'm staggered. I mean, I just don't know how you can make that much money. I found myself thinking, thank heaven I don't have to go against them. And then I was thinking about Alphabet and what they've done and the pivot that Ruth Porat discussed last night about YouTube and, of course, Google Cloud and the amazing Thomas Kurian. And I come back and say, oh, I'm so glad I don't have to compete against those guys. There's a lot of Lombardi Trophy winners hanging around here, Carl. And those who are focused on things like what happened with GameStop, enjoy. That's good pregame. Hey, maybe it's halftime, but it's not the game.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.